as police zero in.
Scary, just scary. He's a danger for the public.
The brave
Near
woman.
where Maddie went missing. Acting
The brave woman who could shed new light
He recorded everything.
on this 18-year mystery.
If the crime against me had been investigated, that Madeleine would still be at home with her parents.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
Since the very start, the harrowing 18-year mystery of Madeleine McCann has been a roller coaster of high hopes and devastating realities. But right now, it's crunch time for the most high-profile child abduction case in history. This past week, acting on information from German investigators, police have swarmed on a stretch of Portuguese coastline, close to where the British toddler vanished from her parents' holiday apartment in 2007. They've been desperately searching for evidence in a race against time to prevent the looming freedom of the prime suspect in the case, German paedophile and rapist Christian Bruckner. And as you'll see tonight, they're not the only ones determined to keep this vile predator behind bars. The world hasn't stopped looking for Madeleine McCann. The sweet 3-year-old snatched from a Portuguese seaside resort in Praia de Luz in 2007. On Thursday, police wrapped up their latest search of 21 properties near where Maddie went missing. Acting on a tip-off, they'd brought in revolutionary ground-penetrating radar, as well as inspecting wells, abandoned buildings and water storage tanks. An intensive 40-kilometre hunt starting at the Ocean Club from where Maddie disappeared, before concentrating on the derelict farmhouse where Christian Bruckner lived at the time. Currently in jail, serving a 7-year sentence for the rape of an elderly woman, he is the sole suspect in the abduction and feared murder of Maddie McCann. After all this time, what are the police actually looking for?
One can only presume that they've got some pointers towards where they may be able to find some human remains or evidence which will link Christian Bruckner to her disappearance.
That's the key, isn't it? To link him?
Yes, it is. That is the golden nugget that they're looking for at the moment.
Police are yet to reveal if and what clues they've uncovered. But as missing child expert Charlie Hedges recognises, there is no doubt they are in a battle against the clock.
Time is certainly running out.
Do you believe this is the last throw of the dice?
If Christian Bruckner walks, it's going to be difficult to pursue things any further.
Did you kidnap and kill Madeleine McCann, Mr. Bruckner?
Please, if you have Madeleine...
Tonight, in one of the most famous and fraught cases of our time, why German prosecutors are certain they have their man.
We have evidence that he killed Madeleine McCann.
But is the evidence enough? It could all come down to this woman fighting to keep the monster behind bars, the same monster she's convinced attacked her. How many times did he rape you?
3.
In 2004, 3 years before Maddie McCann and her family travelled here, Irish woman Hazel Behan arrived at the seaside paradise on a working holiday. She was 20 at the time and had a group of friends who rarely left her side.
I'd been out after work and I went home alone. It was the first time I'd ever gone home alone. I lay on the bed and I fell asleep and I was woke by somebody calling my name.
To this day, Hazel doesn't know how a stranger knew her name. Hazel. But instantly, even before she opened her eyes, she knew something was terribly wrong.
So when I did open my eyes, yeah, I seen a man. He was all dressed in black. He had a black mask on and he was holding a knife. So that was what I seen when I first woke up.
That's a terrifying image that you describe.
It's one that never leaves you. Yeah. Yeah, it's horrendous.
From that moment, Hazel was in the hands of a controlling and violent monster. Her account of what the masked intruder did to her is harrowing and heartbreaking.
The first direction that he gave me was not to scream. He had black leather whip, and he whipped me with that when I told him I wasn't afraid. I was terrified. I don't know why I said that. I think it was something stubborn in me that I wanted to hold on to something of my own, but yeah, it didn't work like that. He set up video cameras, he recorded everything. He recorded me close up. I was tied in a very compromising position to the breakfast bar, the small little breakfast bar in my apartment.
The attack may have happened 21 years ago, but time has done nothing to blunt the pain or the memory of that night. How many times did he rape you?
3 times. Yeah, twice in my bedroom and once on the breakfast bar.
Did you think you'd survive?
Honestly, no. That's the truth. A man dressed in black with a knife and he's carrying out these horrendous acts on you, and he clearly hates you, he clearly doesn't like you, he wants to hurt you. I don't think it would be wrong of me to say that I felt like I was gonna die. You know, and whether he killed me physically or not, spiritually, that was me, I was gone. I was done that day. You know, that was, yeah, I didn't exist anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that. His pleasure came from inflicting terror and exercising his power, right until the end.
So he knelt me down in front of a small little sofa kind of thing in the room. So my hands are still tied behind my back and I had to put my head onto the bench, and he positioned me in that way. Went and got a sheet from my bed and draped the sheet over me. And he stood above me with a knife, so I just thought he was going to just chop my head off. That sounds so dramatic, but that's exactly what was going through my head. But I could hear him like packing up, you know, I could hear, and I could move the sheet. So I could see him leave. So he stepped backwards out the balcony door into his shoes, and he was gone.
In a disappointing insight into how Portuguese police operated, any hope Hazel had her attacker would be caught was immediately dashed. At the time of the attack, did you feel that the police believed you? Believed
No.
the complaint?
No. In the weeks that followed, they followed me to see if I was a slut, to see how I behaved, if that was, you know, if I just kind of welcomed what had happened to me. Yeah.
What about the forensic evidence from your apartment from the attack that night? Was that collected by Portuguese police?
No. No, 4 days later, the apartment was essentially how I had left it. Any blood that was there was still there. The bloodied sheets were still on my bed. My mum tried to cover them up so I didn't have to see it. And when she moved the sheet, my fingernails were still in the bed. They had never collected them.
Portuguese police may not have given the attack on Hazel a second thought, but she could never forget it. And in 2020, when police in the UK released this photo of Christian Bruckner as a suspect in the disappearance of Maddie McCann, Hazel's reaction was out of her control.
I just felt sick. I just literally felt sick. I ended up running into the toilet. I was dry reaching in the toilet. I was just... I knew instantly that it was him.
As for 3-year-old Madeleine McCann, as you'll see, Hazel is just as certain she too fell prey to the pedophile and rapist. What makes you believe he's responsible for snatching and killing Madeleine McCann? In court, facing the full brunt of the law is exactly where many people want to see Christian Bruckner, the prime suspect in the kidnapping and killing of British child Madeleine McCann in 2007. But on this day, in the German city of Braunschweig, Bruckner is on trial, not for crimes against Maddie, but for the rape of 3 women and 2 counts of sexual assault against other young children. One of the 3 women to accuse Bruckner of violent rape is star witness, 41-year-old Irish woman Hazel Behan. She was on a working holiday in Portugal in 2004 when she says Bruckner, masked by a balaclava and armed with a knife, broke into her apartment in the middle of the night and attacked her.
I went to court. I shared the same airspace with the man I believe did this to me. It was the most gruelling time I've ever gone through outside of what happened to me in my whole entire life. And it actually broke me to a point that I can't even put into words, having to do that again.
Witnessing her agony was German investigative journalist and documentary maker Jutta Rabe, who was in court for every day of the trial.
I think Hazel, one has to say she was very brave and she was very clear in what she told. And it was hard to listen to that.
There is no doubt Christian Bruckner is a sadistic and violent man. He is currently in jail serving a 7-year sentence for raping a 72-year-old woman. And that's where prosecutors want him to stay. For while they have named him as their suspect in the Maddie McCann investigation, they are yet to charge him. Hazel's trial gave them confidence they had time on their side to build their case. A conviction here would have seen Bruckner stay behind bars indefinitely, but without one, he could be free by September, when his current prison term ends. How do you respond to the prospect of Christian Bruckner walking free?
I think he's a danger for the public. And also, we had heard there in court a psychological expert about his personality, his behavior, and his prospects. And he called him one of the top dangerous people he has ever seen.
In court, so much was riding on Hazel's shoulders, and she came under intense attack from the judge about her ability to identify Bruckner, that she was swayed to do so only by the publicity linking him to the Madeleine McCann case. Have you ever doubted yourself about identifying Christian Bruckner as your rapist?
No. No, I've never doubted myself.
Is there any way you could have been influenced by the coverage around the Madeleine McCann case?
Look, and that's a really good question to ask, because it's important to know that I didn't follow Madeleine McCann's case. I didn't even know this person was a suspect. I knew none of it. You know, I know my truth. I know that he is the person who did this. I know that. My job, I suppose, at the time was to convince a judge, and I didn't.
In a brutal blow to Hazel, as well as the prosecutors, in October last year, the judge acquitted Christian Bruckner of all the rape and sexual assault charges he faced. But according to Jutta, the judge showed her bias right from the start.
There are coming witnesses to her court, and the first thing she is doing, she's screaming at them in an almost hysterical way. She's threatening them. I mean, she has done it with each and every witness, and that was a clear signal that she was absolutely like on his side.
I can't change what happened to me. I can't go back to 2004 and, you know, rewrite everything. But the idea that somebody like that would be out and living in everyday normal society is really scary.
The judge believed Hazel had been raped, but given her attacker was wearing a balaclava at the time, she did not accept that Hazel could identify Christian Bruckner as the man behind the mask. From the night, do you remember any identifying characteristics of your attacker?
Yeah, well, I had told the Portuguese police he was German. He spoke English with a German accent, slim build. I knew that he had blonde hair. I didn't see his hair, but I could see his eyebrows, and it was his eyes. And I know that, look, I completely understand why maybe people in the public might say, how can you recognise someone by their eyes? I get it, like, I completely understand. But when all you can see of this person is their eyes, you don't have a choice whether or not you remember them. They're just there. So they've left like this imprint on me that I can't get rid of. Like, I see them all the time. I've seen them for the last 21 years in my sleep.
And Hazel also told police she spotted an identifying mark on her attacker, a mark that had not been made public until the trial last year.
I also seen a mark on his leg. I thought it could have been a tattoo, a birthmark. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was something there. And I said that to the police on the 16th of June in 2004.
And in 2018, unwittingly, German police backed up what Hazel had told the Portuguese authorities. After compelling Bruckner to a physical examination, they identified this scar on his right thigh. But at trial, the judge decided not to use any of the police evidence.
I think the photo would have changed everything, and I don't understand why they did not bring forward the photo. Yeah.
To hear the verdict, that he was acquitted of the charges brought against him in your case and the other allegations that were made against him, what was that like for you?
To hear that he was acquitted, and then to hear the judge's opinion of why she came to the decision essentially was because of poor investigation. That really just is a kick in the teeth, to be quite honest. It really, really is.
Since the trial, a British documentary from Channel 4 and the Sun newspaper has revealed damning evidence that had been collected by German police. At a disused factory once owned by Bruckner, they discovered 75 toddler swimsuits, children's bikes and toys, black market guns and ammunition, doctored photos of Bruckner wearing a mask, and in the boot of his old car, chemicals including ether, which is known to cause sedation. On USB sticks found beneath a dead dog buried on the property, police uncovered his record of chilling online conversations with other pedophiles. And Bruckner's sick sexual fantasies of abducting, drugging and raping mothers and children, written out as short stories.
And this was all very, very scary. Scary, just scary. Yeah? If you let this man goes out into public again, he will, for 100% sure, grab either the next woman or the next child he can get and do exactly again the same than he did with others before. I'm 100% sure.
Despite his numerous past convictions, Bruckner denies he is a pedophile or rapist and has always maintained he had nothing to do with Madeleine McCann's disappearance or suspected death. But compellingly, the Sun investigation also uncovered evidence police have found a separate laptop and hard drive, which they claim links him to the missing child.
Details of what is on these devices has been kept a close secret.
Since 2022, the German chief prosecutor, Hans Christian Wolters, has been very public and very certain about his prime suspect, but frustratingly secretive about the evidence he's relying on.
I can't speak about this at the moment.
We have evidence, and we come to the conclusion that Madeleine McCann is dead and Christian B. murdered her.
Have you seen that evidence?
I know what evidence there is. Yes, but I can't talk about that now.
What is so confusing then is if there is that evidence, why can he not charge Christian Bruckner now?
Because it's not forensic evidence. And as we see now, photos or documents or so, the court can dismiss, always. If you have a judge, as the last time in court, then every evidence which is not forensic is dismissed. And if she is dismissing all the evidence, then he will always walk away as a free person. That's really, it's bitter, but it is as it is. Yeah?
What makes you believe he's responsible for snatching and killing Madeleine McCann?
The German police. I believe them. I've seen how they operate. I've been in their presence.
If the Portuguese police had believed you, do you believe Madeleine McCann would be here today?
Yes, I believe that Madeleine would still be at home with her parents.
Up next, the new and desperate hunt for forensic evidence before it's too late. Does that suggest to you that the case is on a knife edge at the moment? In a race against time, German police are scouring the scrublands of Praia de Luz in Portugal. Their hope is this barren landscape will give up something, anything, of Madeleine McCann, the 3-year-old British girl who vanished from near here 18 years ago. If there is no forensic evidence to be found, it's likely, within months, this man, convicted pedophile, rapist and prime suspect Christian Bruckner, will walk free.
Did you kidnap and kill Madeleine McCann, Mr. Bruckner?
How much anticipation is there about the results of this search?
I think everyone desperately wants there to be a positive outcome from this. I mean, no one wants this to be a wasted effort.
Former head of the Missing Children Unit at the UK National Crime Agency, Charlie Hedges, says despite the lost years, the case is on a knife's edge. Why wasn't a search like this done 18 years ago, a search as thorough?
A very good question, and probably the heart of why this case hasn't been resolved.
At the time, did Portuguese police fail Madeleine McCann?
Yes, I mean, I think the initial actions were lacking, so maybe with a different approach we wouldn't be here talking about this now.
Getting it right is the difference between life and death.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when the first day in court?
I do.
And what did you make of it?
I just thought it was a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Back in Ireland and in the comforting orbit of her mother Kathy, Hazel Behan believes she too is a victim of police bungling. In 2004, 3 years before Maddie McCann vanished, Hazel, on a working holiday in Portugal, was bound and raped multiple times after an intruder broke into her apartment in the middle of the night. She believes her attacker was Christian Bruckner, though he denies the allegation and has been recently acquitted of the rape in a German court. You're angry?
Really angry. I'm angry, so angry that they didn't believe me. I'm hurt by that. You know, I was a 20-year-old young girl on my own in a foreign country. I left the hospital that morning in Portugal to nobody, not even a police officer, nothing. I had no home to go to, I had no bag, I had no money, I had no clothes, I had nothing. And they left me like that.
Not only was Hazel abandoned, Portuguese police neglected to collect the forensic evidence of her attack, including bloodstains and fingernails from her apartment. But 21 years after the attack that shattered life as she knew it, Hazel is fighting back, committed to making a difference. She has now reported the Portuguese authority in action to the European Court of Human Rights. What is your motivation for taking this to the European Court?
I think essentially it's calling out people for not doing their job. And I want them to know that, and I want the world to know. I want the eyes to be on them to know they need to do better. They've caused so much more grief and hurt and anguish in my life and my family's lives because of work they just didn't do. And I find that really unfair.
It's a frustration and anguish Hazel is sure she shares with Maddie's parents, Jerry and Kate McCann, who in the early stages of the investigation were named by local police as suspects in their daughter's disappearance.
Please, please do not hurt her. Please don't scare her. Please tell us where to find her. Obviously the parents would have been looked at, but there was a person who was a convicted paedophile living in the area and he wasn't investigated. I don't understand that. You know, that to me is shoddy work.
You can make up your mind about a guy who has from his 16th year of life been in front of court because he has molested children or sexually abused children or raped women. So it is just a fact that this guy is a rapist and he is a pedophile and he is a child abuser.
But as investigative journalist Jutta Rabe concedes, that does not mean he necessarily kidnapped and murdered Maddie McCann. And he was acquitted last year of raping Hazel and 2 other women and sexually abusing 2 children. A win the prosecution is appealing or seeking to retry before he walks free in September. You know, will the prosecution be forced to finally show their hand, show what they have against Christian Bruckner to keep him behind bars? Do you think
Yes.
they will lay charges?
Their biggest problem is, what if the same judge gets the whole case? Yeah, I mean, then you have exactly the same hysterical and biased situation that was there before now.
Closely watching developments in Portugal is Hazel Behan. If the desperate search for forensic evidence of what happened to Maddie McCann proves fruitless, she's prepared to once again face Christian Bruckner in court to help deny freedom to the man she is certain raped her.
This idea of, oh, forgiveness is key, forgive him and you'll move on. No, sorry, you don't deserve to get forgiveness from me. Absolutely not, you've taken enough. I don't forgive you for what you've done. I never will. And I'm okay with that.
On this week's 60 Minutes podcast, Extra Minutes, there's more on the Madeleine McCann investigation.
One interesting thing, the one glimmer of hope, there might be a chance that the UK might take some sort of action.
That's Extra Minutes, available now on the 60 Minutes Australia YouTube channel.